Is the Samsung Galaxy A10e worth buying in 2021? Well, in this video, we're gonna find out. Hi everyone, this is Kevin here from Smartphone Review Pro, and this is the Samsung Galaxy A10e. Now, the A10e was launched in August of 2019, so at this point, this phone is well over a year old and actually approaching a year and a half old. But despite that, it still is being offered by a variety of different carriers, and I believe you can still buy the phone factory unlocked online as well. Now, this particular variant of the phone is the Metro by T-Mobile model. Now, with this device, we're getting a 5.83-inch display, so not quite as big as some of the other A-series devices, but at the same time, it's not like it's a super tiny display either. It is still very ideal for watching content, whether it's videos or going on social media. All that stuff is gonna look good on here. And also, I think the display in general looks very nice as well. It is decently bright. It is a PLS TFT display though, so not quite the best display technology out there. And it is 720p with a PPI of 295. But I just feel like things do look decently nice, and definitely the display doesn't look low quality. Now with this phone, we're getting a 19.5:9 aspect ratio. We are getting a water drop notch up top, and the screen to body ratio with this phone is 81.4%. Now in the notch, we're getting a 5 megapixel front facing camera. Now internally here with the phone, we're getting 32 gigabytes of internal storage with microSD card expansion. There's no wireless charging with the A10e, and also there's no fingerprint sensor, unlike many of the other A-series phones, but we do get face unlock with this device. Now on the back side of the phone, we have one camera, and it is 8 megapixels, and there's no portrait mode for the front or rear cameras. Now with this device, we're getting 2 gigabytes of RAM, and we're getting the Samsung Exynos 7884 processor. Now I did run a Geekbench 5 benchmark test with the phone, and I got a single core score of 212, and a multi-core score of 529. So definitely nothing too fantastic there, but this device is kind of a lower end A-series phone anyway, so you really shouldn't expect too much with it. Now that being said, despite the specifications of this phone not being too great, it is still usable. Navigating around the phone is not a problem at all. And if you're looking for a device to use for casual social media, also occasional video viewing, but mostly for calls and text messages, then the A10e will definitely get the job done for you. But if you are more of a power user, maybe somebody that takes a lot of photos and videos, and somebody that does video editing on their phone, and somebody that does a lot of gaming as well, then you probably will want to get a bit of a higher end A-series phone, or maybe even look into an older S-series phone from Samsung. Now video recording with this device maxes out at 1080p, and we're getting a 3000 milliamp hour internal battery. So the battery capacity is not necessarily that large, especially compared to the other A-series devices. Now as far as software updates go, remember this is the Metro by T-Mobile variant, so this might be different for other variants of the phone, whether it's with other carriers or the unlocked variant. But this phone is still stuck on Android 9 Pie, unfortunately. However, I did recently get the December 1st, 2020 security patch. So it is disappointing that it didn't get Android 10, at least not yet. And really, at this point, I would say they should just skip it and go to Android 11. But I don't really know what to expect as far as updates go with this device. On the other hand, though, a lot of the benefits that come with Android 10 and Android 11 really can't be taken advantage of too much with this phone due to it not having a whole lot of RAM and too powerful of a processor. So really, for the purposes that you'd be getting this phone anyway in the first place, you're really not missing out on anything. And again, I am grateful that we're at least getting the most up-to-date security patch, because that's probably the most important thing when it comes to updates. Now here's how things look on the camera app. We then have an option to zoom in a little bit further, but it does still use the main camera on the device. There's also a pro mode that gives us a few other features, such as the ability to adjust the ISO. There's also a panorama mode, and then of course we have video mode as well. Now video recording, as I mentioned a second ago, does max out at 1080p, so you can't take 4K videos with this phone unfortunately. But as far as the video quality and the photo quality go, really it's pretty impressive considering that this is a lower end A-series phone. So you are at least going to be able to take photos and videos that are usable, but if you do want more advanced features like portrait mode, or if you want an ultra wide angle camera, or even a macro camera, you are going to have to go with a different device to get those features. Now here is the box that the A10e does come in. Keep in mind, again, this is the Metro by T-Mobile variant, and I do apologize for the box not being in the best condition. I have had this phone for quite a while. It has been through several moves and different things like that, but here is the box. There's the phone up front, then on the back you can see Metro by T-Mobile, but we'll open this up and take a look. Whoops, everything's just falling out. Okay, so the first thing we have is this packet. We'll open this up. And in the packet, we have some terms and conditions. We also have 2 quick reference guides in 2 different languages. We have a USB-C cable for charging and data transfer. We have a USB wall adapter for charging. And we have a SIM card removal tool. Now, despite this being a low-end A-series device, it still does feel nice and high quality. Certainly doesn't feel cheap necessarily. Now, the materials are not necessarily the most highest end out there, as the phone is made completely out of plastic, besides the display being glass. But again, everything feels nice and solid here, and really no issues when it comes to that. Now, again, taking a look at the front panel, we do have that water drop notch up top. Now, the successor to this phone, the A11, has a hole punch situated off to the upper left instead of having a water drop notch, which is pretty interesting. I am curious which form factor you prefer. I believe the A12, which is the successor to the A11, brings back the notch. So that's kind of an interesting reversal there. But again, let me know if you prefer a hole punch or a notch or a pop-up front-facing camera. Definitely curious to know. And then at the bottom of the display here, we do have a little bit of a thicker bottom bezel, but in general, the phone does have a nice form factor. And again, I do appreciate that the bezels are not too large in general. Now, taking a look at the left side of the device, we just have the slot for the microSD card and SIM card. Then on the right side of the phone, we have the power button, volume down and volume up. Then on the top of the phone, we have the noise canceling microphone. And then on the bottom of the phone, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack. We have the USB-C port for charging and data transfer. We have the microphone, and we have the speaker. Now, one of the major differences between the A10 and A10e is that with the A10e, we do have the USB-C port, whereas the regular A10 does have micro USB on the bottom. And then taking a look at the back side of the device, not a whole lot here. We just have the camera module, which includes 1 camera and 1 flash, and then we have the Samsung logo. And then also the back of the phone is a bit reflective and does pick up scratches decently easily, but that is to be expected for a device like this one. So as I mentioned earlier on in the video, this phone is a good device for consuming video content. Now, videos do look good here, again, due to the display being pretty decent. Now, since the display is 720p, unfortunately, videos do max out at 720p, but again, things look perfectly fine, so it's not really a problem. And then you also have the ability to crop in, so if you want a more immersive experience, you can definitely do that. Now, one downside, but this is pretty consistent with most A-series phones, is that audio only comes out of the main speaker. So on some other devices, like the Moto G Power, for example, you get audio coming out of the main speaker, but also the earpiece. So that's great if you're watching video content or listening to music, because it does make things more immersive. Thankfully, the actual speaker itself is nice and loud. It's just that when you cover it over, that pretty much gets rid of all the audio that you hear. So again, not a huge deal, certainly not a deal breaker either, but something that you might want to keep in mind. So in conclusion, is the Samsung Galaxy A10e worth buying in 2021? Well, one thing's for sure, there's definitely a lot of competition out there, both from Samsung with their other phones and from other brands. I know, for example, the Moto G Power can be bought factory unlocked for a very affordable price, so I would definitely recommend taking a look at that one. Also, take a look at the Moto E 2020 model, as that phone pretty much does everything this phone does, but gives you extra features as well, especially related to the cameras. I don't think getting this phone would be a mistake by any means, but like I said, there's just so many other options out there. I'm not sure in any situation if I would put this phone at the top of my list, mainly because it is lacking quite a few features that are important to me. The first feature that it's lacking that I care about is having a fingerprint sensor. The face unlock does work decently well, but I really do wish that they would have given us a fingerprint sensor, as that really is my preferred way of getting into phones. And then also just having 1 camera on the back and no portrait mode, and definitely, not having an ultra wide angle camera does also take away from the user experience quite a bit with this phone. Again, if there weren't better alternatives out there, this phone would certainly be a good option, but since there are a bunch of different devices that are pretty much the same price and give you way more features and probably better performance as well, then it is tough to recommend the Samsung Galaxy A10e in 2021. But again, I do want to clarify, if for some reason you really want to get this phone, then I don't think it's really a big mistake. I do overall think this is a good device, but things are more competitive now than they've ever been before. But I hope you've enjoyed this video about the Samsung Galaxy A10e. If you liked it, then definitely give the video a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one.